This is basically what used to be part of the Beaumont estate. It was Richard Beaumont who had that Liberty Cap shape steeple, like it's the top of an Irish clog teach design in the 1700s, built up at Grangemore, which is a village just over the top of that rise there, just behind there, right? I think there's a bomb dropped near it in the war and it just missed it, which I think is rather dubious. But so that dumb steeple, it was a sign of, I've gone through in the other videos, it was a sign of liberty, because the Liberal Party people used to have it on the land. There was a pamphlet going round in the 1700s with the design of them from Ireland, and people who were in the Liberal parties had them on the lands. Now we know Beaumont was politically tied and had some connections, and he ran for being elected as well a few times. There's quite a bit of story to that, but he had a house up on there, and unfortunately it gets called Blackdick's Tower, but it's the conservatory part of the building, and it's like a dark colour now, but it was supposed to be being light coloured when it was built. So it gives him a bad name. There was a lot of cheating going on in the councils and government at that time anyway. But he was definitely a Liberal, because he's got a Liberal symbol on his land. Now also, John William Ramsden were a Liberal as well. Now the thing is, this land is all preserved. And in that forest there, I'm going to go for a walk to show you. Right in the heart of that forest there is a camp, a scout camp for scouts, right? Where they do all the camping and everything, right? And it's all been preserved. Now the ridiculous thing is, around the Warrior's Tomb hasn't. Around the Warrior's Tomb got the tramway built out to it, and then the cinema built up, and then the Imperial Chemical Industries, all this following the Victoria Tower, and then it actually got built on it in the 1960s, on the actual top of it. So the sacred site, that sacred site could have had all forest kept around it, and that could have been a place where they could have had the scout camps and adventures and all the bivouac building and that. But instead, they actually jumped on it and ruined and vandalised that ancient site. And there's a very special valley by the river where the Imperial Chemicals were. Now, why didn't they put a scout camp by the river and in between there and the Warrior's Tomb? I don't know, but this is it, you see. So I'll go show you it in there. All this got protected, but the site, what you'd think that had protected, didn't. And again, I think it's to do with the fact that we sided with the parliamentarians, not with the royalists, and then we've actually had our heritage built on, which I've gone through in the other videos. Yet places like this, and then there's a place in Brighouse, in Calderdale. I've noticed this on the map, and I didn't know this. They've got a nature reserve there, which is all reserved nature, calling it the Cromwell Nature Reserve. The Oliver Cromwell Nature Reserve, all land protected, but they've called it Cromwell. Well, Cromwell actually ousted the Imperials. He ousted the royals, the Cromwell, you know. So what? And then where the place that took sides with the parliamentarians. So what they've done is they've totally vandalised and ruined as Brigantes history, but they've gone and had other areas like this protected, when it was actually, this is the side of the other party, Richard Beaumont, and then Ramsden, and then, you know, over at Calderdale at Brighouse, they've got an area protected. They're named after Cromwell. Why didn't they actually protect the Warrior's Tomb site around there and around Castle Hill? I don't know. I mean, Dunelm at Meltham's been left okay, but I think this is all political, and I think that obviously councils sort of will understand it a little bit, but I don't think anyone's like looked at it in the full context and added it all up. And I don't think it's right for that. Why should our heritage site be ruined and rubbished when they've got the Uffingtom White Horse, they've got Old Oswestry, they've got all these beautiful dolmens in Ireland, Maiden Castle. People love those sites, go take photos of them. And the thing is, Uffington Camp, they've got a campsite near there. And that hill fort's called Uffington Camp. They've got a campsite near it. That's just been bought by a developer. And now all the people of Uffington Camp are worried that they're going to build holiday homes there and get rid of the actual camp. Now, on the Alex Hogg map, where I said it's got the letter D for West Riding of Yorkshire, the letter D is exactly where that Warrior's Tomb is. And then they've put a housing estate with the letter D on the Warrior's Tomb it is mockery, and Alex Hogg was an imperialist map maker anyway, right? And on that map that Alex Hogg did, that old map which is in the other videos, it actually has got a horse on there because it's the West Riding. And more, the part more out of Morden is the first part of the Celtic Gaelic word for ride. It's the first few letters. So on that map features a horse. So the fact that, you know, Uffingtom Camp, they preserved it and protected Uffingtom Camp, and then you've got all the Tolkien tie-ins to the places that have been protected. Yeah, our area got built on, but the one part of our area that is the heritage bit of it, it's a fact that it's the irony and I think it is very concerning that they've gone out of the way to protect these other areas and put a scout camp there, and then that Cromwell site and other ones. Yet what's happened is the actual site that we've got that's an ancient site, then they've gone and rubbished it and totally vandalised it and urbanised it, and then all the locals don't care and are interested here because it's not been encouraged. If you go to Uffington Camp and Maiden Castle or Old Oswestry, they love their sites there. They really like them. They take photos of them. People go there from all over the world to see them, like Wayland Smith in Magical Places. Ours has been rubbished on. And then what gets me is you've got this cock growing stone up at Meltham, which is it's vandalism. It's cock growing stone. Or cock crowing stone that it says on there, right? And it puts people off going up to the moors, and it's bad vibes. It's the word cock and growing and stone, and it's vandalism. And if you get hikers and walkers coming up from the Peak District or whatever, it's kind of a bit nasty, and I think it's actually sort of racist in a way. And I actually think that that was planned and organised to be put on there. And I know psilocybin is illegal and it's actually criminal at the moment, even though you've got the Royal Imperial College and only people properly investigating it with a licence apparently. It's just, then you get people going out with their cans of beer. If you want to do something cool and nice about our area, what you get is them going up to the cock growing stone and jeering with beer and alcohol sort of thing, and if you report it to the council to clean it off, then next thing the moor's set on fire. It's almost as if they're celebrating the downfall of our area, which is really what the Imperial Chemical Industries and having the Royal Armouries in Leeds and then building on our sites is. Now if you are from West Yorkshire and you want to celebrate the rubbishing and ruining of our area, when we're particularly gone from, you know, when we had the same electorate sizes as other people, now we've got 15,000 5% electorate, which is 5 times more than anywhere else. We've got 5 times as many builders and 5 times as less green areas left. So that's going to result in serious issues. Now, the solution to that, to all the people who like going to McDonald's and getting drunk on beer, is just to not help, not sign petitions, get drunk, not care. It's almost, I feel like it's sort of like the gremlin attack, you know, when Gizmo gets water on him and there's just gremlins everywhere. That's how I'm feeling at the moment, because no one wants to help. And if you try and, I think saying something good about your area and standing up for it in heritage is a good thing, but they want to be proud of the fact that it's kind of being destroyed and rubbished in a way. And in a way that's even racism among people who were here even before we had a lot of immigration in more recent years, like the 60s and 70s, you know, when it was predominantly white in England, even in the 1950s. In a way, it seems to me like maybe that cock growing stone is a racist attack on ourselves among each other. I don't know, but I don't think it's a positive vibe or a proper acknowledgement. And then when you go and you know, try and help heritage, they think that you're doing something wrong or something bad when you're trying to protect heritage. Maybe they're trying to protect the fact that now they've made a complete total mess and it's just mayhem, and they're almost trying to protect the mayhem and celebrate. They want to celebrate the mayhem in a way. It's quite concerning, you know, and I don't think a lot of people who are further down south, you see, when you go down south to Wiltshire, you think, oh, it's near London, but it's quiet, it's peaceful, it's tranquil, it's rural in a lot of these heritage areas. It's only when you go into London or the big cities. Now up here, you see, we actually had quite a lot of industrial growth and building in West Yorkshire, Manchester, Leeds, that resulted in quite a lot of urban sprawl and population growth. You know, I really think they should be building now in places what don't have a 15,000 5% electorate, because there's just too many people and too much here now. And there needs to be some sort of building ban on places that have gone over a certain population count or percentage. So I'm going to go watch that campsite now. I've only been once before. Once went for a walk there and walked all the way through to the other side. I've not been up to that actual old house that got burnt down, that Black Dick's Tower. But in the real stories you read about that Beaumont, he was a decent guy and he was on the right political side. And a lot of the other councillors were cheating. But it tells true, that story, because on the groups, everyone's complaining about councillors these days. The council is not very popular. And a lot of those, there was claims of cheating in the elections as well. A lot of other councillors were cheating, and I think they tried to make him go over to Pontefract or Castleford and then Clitheroe. He wanted to be the MP for our area, but then there was loads of messing around going on. So this is the area that's been preserved, but you can't really get into it because it's all mainly farming, but it's been protected, and that's where the Cub Scout place is, in the forest. They did do some forestry at the top. They were doing some, they grew loads of trees and then they cut them all down, like for wood, I think. But there's a quarry in there now. In that top bit, there's a massive quarry. But they've also got a quarry where the Freemasons' Arms is, where the nicest view of Castle Hill is. They shut down the Free House, the Freemasons' Arms, and then they built that massive mansion there. It's all tied in, and you'll find that if you look at it with an unbiased opinion of who's behind it and what does it mean, what's responsible, you know, what are the, you know, what the intentions behind it. It has been to destroy and corrupt, really, the older heritage. Because it's not the current power's heritage at all, and I don't think they want it celebrated. And it's just a shame that people don't really want to even acknowledge it. They just don't care. Mainly it's about pubs, but there are plenty of pubs. If there wasn't one pub in Huddersfield and everybody was trying to get a pub built because we didn't have one, it'd be all right. But they're not even sure of them. In fact, you go into some pubs and there's hardly nobody in. And you can't go anywhere these days without having a takeaway. It's hard to find anywhere where there isn't a takeaway or a restaurant, you know? You can't go anywhere where there isn't a takeaway or a restaurant. So to have one on the other ancient site is really, really ridiculous. And now that Dunelm place, which I think is the third site in the trilogy of them, is starting to have houses pop up around it now. So I'm going to make a representation to the Meltham Council. There's a scout camp. So I'm not too sure if it falls into Kirkheaton, if that Warriors Tomb place falls into Kirkheaton Council or not. But I'll show you the campsite, because I didn't know about that Cromwell nature reserve at Brighouse. The fact it's called Cromwell and it's a nature reserve is, you know, it's not celebrating Cromwell and the parliamentarians, the Roundheads, at all, when they've totally rubbished the actual Warriors Mound and now rubbishing Castle Hill in our area, because we did side with the parliamentarians and the Roundheads. Yeah, they keep this nature reserve, they put a scout camp right in the middle of it. And then Cromwell's nature reserve over at Brighouse, it's like the ICI. Oh, we're going to give you something decent, we're going to celebrate this area, we're going to have the Imperial Chemical Industries right on the river. It makes it private to that company, so you can't even access, you can't even go to that river and take a photograph. They've even built a concrete bridge over it. It's it isn't. It's like self-harm. It's almost like a self-attack on the heritage. It's really very terrible. So it's there's all this countryside here that they could have built nice houses on, relatively quite well spaced out, so it's not all crushed in with urban sprawl. People could have had decent sized gardens even if the houses closer to each other. Yet the actual bit what's got the heritage on it, they totally blitz it. And then they've got these ironic things like, it's Haig the builder, and his name's for house, Haig's for house who did it, and that's what I've been told. And then you've got this Kirkwood Hospice. It was Hobkirk in this 17th century book that went and actually recorded the site in his travels when he was recording the warrior's tomb, Roundwood, with all the forest. It had the forest trees around it then. But then they go build this Kirkwood Hospice. Well, that's like, Hobkirk and a wood. It's almost like a tribute to his name for recording that mound in the book. And then next week they put hospice, which is meant to be a charity for, people who have either, going old or have got disabilities and things like that. It is a charity, Kirkwood Hospice. So it's... The fact is, though, that area around Dalton and Waterloo now it's an example of an electorate that's got, 5 times more than the average electorate, 5 times more builders and 5 times less land. Yet now they're still trying to squeeze houses in there. Something needs to be done. And the Green Party, I've been in a Green Party meeting, and it was a proper Green Party meeting about what to do with our area before I even raised the matters of the ancient sites and the heritage. And Andrew Cooper, the Green Party councillor, him and all the Green Party supporters in that group were talking about rewilding some of the outskirts of Huddersfield. They were talking about adding greenery and rewilding and conservation. It was on the table for discussion. It was on that table for this Kirklees Council to do that if the Green Party can get in. And we're not talking about, it's nothing to do with kicking people out of their houses. We're not kicking people out of their houses. We're not like booting them off and saying, get off, we don't think you're worth anything or you're worthless. I am talking about building them nice houses, decent ones, but not these ridiculous, monstrous things they're building in Ireland, these 500 people apartment blocks that don't need planning permission, which are just look like the Arndale Centre. And I'm not talking about these massive stone buildings now that they're building in this area. We're talking about nice houses, like what there is in the countryside and in hamlets and places. It is the builders, and they want to make a profit and money for themselves. They're doing it for the money. In fact, these builders, like Ben Stephen Marsden, people like that, they're trying to avoid tax so much that they've got 5 or 6 different companies going for tax reasons. They've got all these different companies, West Park Homes, Marsden Contracts, they've got it all split up, so for the maximum profit. And oh yeah, we're building a big strong house, it's 2 or 3 stories. But I don't think that they're that imaginative or decent. It's not creating something magical or enchanting. It's just basically, it's like, first they had terrace houses, right? You can all have terrace houses, right? And they're not content with terrace houses. They said, all right, then you can all have bungalows instead, because you all have a nice garden and we won't have it stacked up. And then what they did is they moved on from bungalows to semis everywhere, right? And then, now you've got decent gardens and a gap between you, right? And then what they did is, now they're going, no, we want to treat you better, we're going to give you something a bit better, something more. What we're going to do is, you can have these stone square houses on these, estates of 20 houses at a time. But it's still, I don't think that they're not creative. It's still on the grid. Here's the scout thing. It's still like a grid formation. It's got no creativity to it. And it's these people who do computer programming and all this Facebook meta work, those minded people still want to try and do this uniformity organisation. It's still the type of people whom are designing these talking buses, which have going next stop. You don't need to be, we know that what's going to happen to the bus soon is it's going to be another stop, because that's what buses do, stop. So why does he have to say next stop, next stop, next stop all the time? There is a psychological conditioning behind it where they're wanting people to carry on past places and not stop or intervene. And I think that it is all tied into all of the advertising and things like that. When councils are teaming up with football teams, maybe the entire fact that a football pitch is square, maybe that's giving people a square mentality, you know. But I mean, if you like the style of urban square things, I'm not even saying that we shouldn't ever have those things, but why in a heritage area that's old-fashioned style or prehistoric style, you know? Why? I mean, you should have the style of where it is. Now, if you've got a new city like Leeds where there wasn't any heritage there before, there's no heritage to protect or base it on. So you can have square buildings all you want. Hold on a second, I might have to... Oh, actually, it's okay. It was just left. Some stone with moss over it. So this is the Cub Scout Campsite in the middle of this area. Look, it's got some paint on it like that cock crowing stone, but an arrow. You see, I went to the Cubs when I was little, and I got Cub badges and Scout badges for a lot of things, like building bivouacs and doing art and even cooking and stuff like that. So they've got a storage container here. They've got a wooden log cabin building down there. This is a turning circle to drop people off, possibly with parking. And then they've got land up there, which has got some sort of 4x4 tracks on it, or motorbike tracks, all surrounded in woodland, right? Now you might say, oh, well, round woods is a certain mound. It's got really steep hills around it, and it's in a magical valley with the river at the other end. I mean, this is a great thing. I'm not knocking this. I'm not knocking this and saying it's not a great thing. But in context, right? In context of it's for Cub Scouts, right? And there's a nature reserve being left and protected and encouraged in an area near where the guy, Beaumont, the guy who put the Liberty sign symbol on his land, which they tried to even bomb it. A bomb just missed it for some strange reason. But obviously, you know, the bomb didn't miss Warrior's Tomb, did it? The bomb of houses that dropped on it. So it's just the irony. And then they've got that Cromwell place at Brighouse. And then you've got all the evidence of the maps that they've done and not drawn it correct on the map. They've drawn it in the wrong place. They didn't want to put where it was. Things like that, you know. Maybe they were trying to protect it or, you know, stop people from finding it. I don't know. But if they've got royal affiliations, I would have thought that they didn't want people to know about it because they didn't want it to be celebrated, really. Why would you build a tram station out, right, why did they build a tram station out to Waterloo anyway? There wasn't anything to go there to. If you wanted to go anywhere, the only place in that direction is out to, you know, Skelmanford, Penistone or Wakefield. They had the tram station at Dalton, right, next to that mound. So that was really, they started to build things around there, maybe because they wanted to see it. But why didn't they do that at Maiden Castle? Why didn't they build out from Dorchester City Centre and put a tram stop at the base of Maiden Castle and then start building houses around it? Why didn't they build a tram station at the base of Old Oswestry and then start building a cinema there? They didn't, because it's heritage, right? And look at the Vale of the White Horse. Now someone's bought a campsite, Like, I don't know what that Uffingtom campsite's like. It might be something like this, but this is a Cub campsite. We'll go down to that building while I'm here. Got some of these acorns. So, you know, I mean, Uffingtom Camp now, no one on that group seems to want to help us or sign petitions, you know. I'm not knocking it because it's a brilliant group and the people are very friendly and very intelligent, and you know, people who like all different types of sites go on there all around England, not just the Uffington area, but it's primarily Uffington. I ain't knocking that site. I love that site. I would never want to, you know, belittle it or everything. It's beautiful, but that's the example of what should be done to the other ancient sites, you know. And the thing is, right, that they call that hill fort Uffington Camp, right? Some hill forts are called other names like Old Oswestry or Maiden Castle. It's called Uffington Camp, so to have a campsite near it is going in line with how it's named, and it is more natural, you know. Now that actually annoys me about our area, not about their area. I don't resent them or anything. I would never resent them. I think it's brilliant that they've got a campsite near Uffington Camp. But now developers bought it and everyone's panicking and scared that they're going to write it off and build an holiday home there. Like they're building massive block of flats next to Glenduid Dolmen in Ireland, but you can't even object because it's got 500 houses. You can't object to it or anything. Now, the thing is this, right? Why have we got a campsite? A campsite with a protected area around it that is not in the area of the hill fort. And now what they're wanting to do is expand King James School in Armonbury and take the one little bit that's actually near Castle Hill, hill fort, that's still unharmed by building. What the council's done now is jumped on it and want to expand the school and bring more kids in, so there's kids flying around everywhere after school and before school, and then they'll start complaining that people aren't driving safe on those country roads, and they'll have to put loads of more traffic lights and loads more road markings and loads more street furniture, and then it won't be that beautiful countryside area. They'll have ruined it. The council, it's like sweets. They see some, oh, I like that, and they just have to go for it, the council. Oh, we'll have to ruin that as well. And really, that is what they've done with that cock crowing stone thing up at the Pennines. It's a beautiful area. It is a spiritual place. It is a religious site. And then they've gone and sort of vandalised it, and even proud of it with all the alcohol photographs in front of it and beer and everything. And it's kind of intimidating people who come to the area who want to see it, and kind of putting people off that whole spirituality and religion. And then when you try and say, oh, we should clean that up, then they're protecting it. They're vehemently protecting that, maybe because it's within their lifetime and they think it's their heritage, and anything before that they're not really bothered about, you know. There's a sort of racism in this country where I think that it's nothing to do with ethnic minority groups like colours or black or whatever. There's still some racism in this country, even though you get, you know, people, everyone of all colours and races love Stonehenge, and all people go Uffington Camp. But it's when you get to, for some reason, when you get to other, you know, we need our site protecting, can you help us out? You like ancient sites. They don't, not many of them seem to be want to jump in and help. Some do, don't get me wrong. Some do, and when you ask, they sign and they help you. But it's the fact that Facebook are also trying to obstruct and block you getting help on there, you know? So, the campsite, why have we got the campsite here with the scouts and all the conservation around it and wild, but not, why isn't it where the heritage site is with a nice stream and river there? It don't make sense. And then why have the Cromwell one? You know? Why isn't this at the heritage site? You know, we've got Uffington Camp, it's a camp, it's got a campsite near it, part to go visit and protect it, and then Wayland Smith, it is a religious site. Now, what I've been talking about in the other videos is this United Nations. We are a member of the United Nations, And you can get a site recognised as a religious site, and you can stop planes from flying over it, and you can get more extra additional protection than just having the heritage protection or just having the archaeology protection. And to be honest, the archaeology protection doesn't protect it much because they're always digging it up. I'm sick of archaeologists digging things and ruining it. So if you can get religious protection, we could probably protect it from the archaeologists and stop them digging things up, and they ain't going to like that. They're going to oppose to it. But that's, if you can get something like the Taj Mahal has got religious site recognition, once you can start getting the ancient dolmens and sites recognised for being religious, and even the white horse is like, so it's praying to the gods for the horse, isn't it? It's like saying thank you to God for creating the horse. So it is a religious veneration in a way. There are people who want to dig sites, and there are people who want to protect them, and there are people who just want to build something near it and ruin the whole environment around the area, you know. Everyone's starting to get under threat now, and we need to come together, because people Uffington now, it's like, now they're realising, oh, we might have to do something about this development if it happens, right? But then you don't just want to be concentrating on your own. Why has that happened? Why has it come about that it might be under threat anyway? Because we haven't been doing anything about it before and coming together properly. The National Trust, English Heritage are supposed to be the ones who look after these sites and who protect them. But what protection have they done to our sites? None. No protection at all. We won't even recognise it. So it is upsetting, you know, the fact that they go out of the way to make Cromwell Nature Reserve. They go out of the way to have a Cub Scout camp out here with added protection around it. But it's not at the actual site, you know. Even Beaumont didn't want to even he didn't put that dumb steeple on the warrior tomb because he respected it. He didn't put that dumb steeple on Castle Hill. He put it Grange Moor on his land, you know, because it's nearby it, but it doesn't actually affect the actual site, you know. But you know, this could have, you know, they could have had the Cub Scout camp near that mound in the valley between Dalton and the river, and all that could have been nature reserved to the river, and they could even have done canoeing on that river or punts or something. And then Dalton Bank's an amazing place to do scouting activities. I mean, if you're in here doing Cub Scouting activities, I have got Cub Scout badges for tracking, right? I've got Cub Scout badges for tracking. It's completely contained all sides. The view is blocked off. So how can you practice tracking and long distance tracking when this Cub Scout camp's in here? You tell me. If you're up on Dalton Bank or on that Warriors Mount Tomb, or even Castle Hill, then you could do more long distance tracking and things like that, you know, and then those woods there, that would make more sense to me, you know. But I don't think that it's completely out of the question to look at restoring that heritage site. And like I said, even the councillors like Andrew Cooper, Green Councillor, it was on the table for discussion for if the Greens get into Kirklees Council, what we could do. And there were green corridors, rewilding and conservation was on the table to get some greenery back. So if there's also heritage sites involved in it, it would make sense to do that. It would make perfect sense to do that. You know, because then you're doing these two things in one project, you know. So it definitely is possible to do it. And I would never dream of wanting to boot people off somewhere just to get them out of the way or whatever. It's not about that. It's about something that everyone in the surrounding area can be proud of and build them some really nice houses. Maybe they don't want, you know, little cottages, but usually it's people in urban areas that resent people who are in nice villages. They always, you go, look at them poshes in a nice village, so they must be either somewhat resentful or something of it to, you know, they must I think they only really dream of these cube houses because that's all they're being offered and all that's been built. They don't actually, a lot of these people who get sold these houses don't even plan it themselves. It's what the builders want to give them. And actually, that's what I was talking about on the way down, I forgot. So the builders, right, we know they're making an absolute fortune and an absolute killing out of these houses, profit-wise. They're not giving people that much of a good deal. They're doing it for the money mainly. They say they're doing it to provide houses, but what are they going to do? Where are they going to do them? Because with a 15%, with a 5% of electorate that is 5 times bigger than most other places, like Dorchester, North Shropshire, Vale of the White Horse, we've got 5 times more builders. But, so they're wanting to build 5 times more houses to keep the business going, but we've got 5 times less area left. Particularly that stands out around the Dalton area anyway, it's clearly evident. And they just want, they've got 5 times more businesses than anyone else in the country. They're building 5 times more houses and each builder's got 5 businesses. So they've got 5 times more houses and every builder's got 5 businesses, all with separate tax returns, so he's evading money and he's making 5 times more profit. And then what happens when you try and do something about it, like I'm doing now? Their buddies in the council gang up on you. Their rugby team tackles you. They've got in teamwork with, you know, Huddersfield Town Football Club, in collaboration and sponsorship with the bus company. You get the sinister bus graphics with the sinister drawings on the buses, characters, with talking buses that are really annoying and brainwashing people, you know, and the amount of people, if they said they want to help out people who are blind or disabled, then they could have more minibuses where you get a driver who's actually getting in and out and helping people, you know, and going out of the way to help people, pick people up and drop them off, even opening the door for them. You know, so I don't know how the council can say we need all these buses that are like ruining the journey, and then they're actually, you know, people are having exhibitions now in Skelmanthorpe and people aren't going out there because they've put people off wanting to go out there on the bus. So the whole town, the whole business of Skelmanthorpe is going to suffer because people aren't wanting to go out there on the bus anymore. It's put people off going. So I think Skelmanthorpe might end up, you know, all the businesses might end up closing down if people aren't going to be wanting to go out there on the buses. So, you know, this is evidence that Cromwell Reserve over at Big House has been protected, and this campsite here, and it is in spite of Beaumont, who has got the Liberty, he's got the Liberty logo on his land, the symbol, right, that dumb steeple, and they sat and Ramsden, who didn't really want to have a building built on Castle Hill. And what's happened is these people have, you know, it looks like, you know, they're doing something good and building a nature reserve, while at the same time your actual heritage gets attacked. The actual river gets blocked off, so you can't even have access to it. You can't take any photos of it, you can't take any photographs from there because it's all been obstructed and blocked off. Really, people who vote Labour, I don't know why they've got a beef or an issue with middle class. I don't want people to have rubbish houses, but I know that problems in life happen when things are too big, when houses get built too fancy or too flashy. Because I know that I grew up in a normal semi-detached house, and it's big houses are terrible. Why are the builders having to have security gates on electric gates? Why are the builders having to have tannoy systems in keypad entry? Because they're annoying a lot of people when they're building houses next to him. He needs that security because he's building 5 times as many houses as everyone. He's got 5 times as many businesses, and he's making 5 times as much profit. And there's 5 times less countryside. It annoys people. They get annoyed. So he's got to have his house securited. Then all the schools are getting securited, and then people who have Facebook groups and the admins are kicking off everywhere, and you can't post freely about things to try and solve the problem. Like these, it's not just me. There are other people who are coming on the internet now who are talking about this High Burton Facebook group. People getting just, you know, posting normal things on there and getting booted out. It's almost like the village people. You see, areas like that, they're like, oh, this is our village, you know, they got this village mentality. What about the Warriors Mound? That's our heritage site. Yet they've gone and, like, you know, totally vandalised and rubbished it, and the people on there. Really, that Warriors Mound is a symbol of what the builders are doing to everyone else. Oh, we're making houses, we're providing housing. Well, you've been providing a population count as well. It's gone through the roof. It's 5 times more than everywhere else, and there's 5 times less land free. Oh, we're doing you a favour, we're providing more houses for you, we're building more houses. Well, why don't you go build them where the electoral count is only, like, you know, 2,005%? Well, there's plenty of land there, you know. Oh, we're helping you out. We're playing for the team. We're playing for the football team. We're playing for the bus company. We're the ones on your side. We're going to get you out of the slums that we built you. We built you these slums. Haig built those. Well, I don't really want to call them slums because you think that I'm rubbishing them, but I'm not. I'm not, because I'm not from that fancy background, really. They built them houses that people are not 100% content with. And then the solution is, oh, now we'll build you a better one. If they'd have built them, right? If they'd have built nice, spread out countryside areas with, like, the normal village plan in the first place, right? Then everyone would have been happy and no one would have been at conflict with each other. And when people get along with each other and are happy, they come together as communities and they can oppose councils quite well in what's happening. But the government doesn't want us to do that. It doesn't want us to get along with each other. And it doesn't want us to oppose the council in what they're doing. It wants us to be in opposing, conflicting parties that are sort of going along with what it wants to do while they're preoccupied with arguing against each other, which is what Labour and Conservative are doing. They're both going in the same direction while they're just, you know, pretending to be debating it out. And we need a completely different direction, you know, because these, you know, it's the builders who are wanting to make the money and the profit, but they pretend, oh, we're playing for team, I'm playing for team, I'm helping you out. You know, it tackled us last week, you know, it tackled everyone, but bang, tackled them down, you know. If you'd have tackled them properly, you know, if you hadn't tackled them in first time and fleeced all the money off them, right, then they wouldn't even, they'd be happy now, and they wouldn't even need a new house or anything, and there wouldn't be a mess. But it's like the greed of these builders, which is the greed of these companies and banks and other places, which is leading to all this excess of food. But it's addiction. These people are actually liking it because they've done research and they're using the information and knowledge that has been gained by the universities, and they're not using it for the good of the public. They've been using it for their own profits and benefit, and now they're using it to control and influence people through the television and through the media, so everyone will just buy their things and go along with their plan. Sit on the bus and let it go where it's taking you, you know. Oh, we're gonna, you know, we're gonna build this here, we're gonna build that there. Oh, just ignore that stop. Next stop, next stop, next stop. Carry on. All right, you know. Let the bus driver take you where the government's taking you. You know, you just buy a bus ticket, you just vote for Labour, and it's all under control. Whereas, why are they in a situation where they're complaining with what they've got and they're wanting to have more? Because they bought the wrong ticket in the first place. They put the money on the wrong side in the first place. They bet on the wrong party, right? And that is why they're in the situation that they're in now. Because they didn't bank on the right side, like with Beaumont and Ramsden, who were liberal and more into fairness for everyone. They put the full foot to the floor, full steam to the floor, right? And bank, you know, Imperial Chemicals. Oh, we're going to make this area great. We're going to lead the industry while you all choke to death on the fumes that you're banging out. That's basically what they've done to us. And there is some significance in Tolkien. It's very, 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 very relevant to our area. He was in this area. He was active in this area. He was interested in this area. And there are things that are clearly obvious from his stories and books, particularly Mordor and all this smog and smoke and all this Dark Lord stuff and all these towers, and we end up with all the towers, we end up with the smog and smoke. It's almost kind of like that. It's like an intoxicating drug, that smoke, that everyone's kind of protecting it. It's almost like the cigarettes and alcohol are almost more addictive and create problems more than even what heroin ever did. you know. But then if you were to suggest making that illegal, then you would get everyone kicking off. But America did it. They had the contraband, didn't they, in America or whatever. They had the prohibition period in America. They claim it didn't work, but was it just set up so it didn't work because they wanted to start making money again? Maybe they realised it were working too well, and then they said it wasn't working, so they could put it back to how it was before. We don't know. But I wouldn't suggest that I was going to like take everyone's alcohol off them or take the cigarettes off them. In fact, the government have already stopped cigarette advertising. The government have already stopped cigarette advertising everywhere and put them in the cabinets. So, sorry if like I've gone on for a little bit extra to what I wanted to just talk about. But this encampment is relevant to this because it's a Cub Scout camp and it's got a massive protected area around it. But it's not contained within the heritage site, which it could have been and should have been, because that location is perfect for it, right? You could say that it's got privacy because it's got all the hills around it everywhere, but why didn't that guy have the privacy around it with all the hills everywhere that's built a mansion up by the Freemasons' Arms when he's got the view of everything? You know, why didn't he have his house down here? Why is his house up there with a view? You know, if you wanted Cub Scouts, why wouldn't the Cub Scout place where opposite the Freemasons' Arms, when they could have had picnic and camping there and see all the nice view of everything without that quarry there, you know? And then the public could have had a little bit of a picnic area there. They wanted the visual access removing. Visual access has been removed, and the only like couple of places where you can even get proper visual access to that warrior's mound are now private. And when you go on that private land, you get people coming out saying, "Oh, God, you know, this is my field, don't go through it," or whatever, you know. Which, if they had a field which wasn't a prime place where you would want to go and get such a view, visual access, because it's been taken away from everywhere else, you wouldn't have a need or desire to go there, you know. If the council would have put, you know, picnic areas at those places what have got the nice view, then it would be there and people would be interested in it and thinking about it. They wanted to arrange for things to happen behind the scenes for it to so visual access was removed from that site. And, you know, some people just are not interested in heritage at all. Fair enough. If you're not in the slightest bit interested in heritage, then fair enough. But you might be interested in countryside. There are a lot of chavs in cars who must be interested in the countryside and nature because they go in them and drive places. I never for once said that we should have a barrier at Castle Hill to block it off at night time to stop people going up in those cars. That wasn't my idea. That was the police and Bernard McGuinn and some of the councillors. And again, even going up there at night time to look out at the view and watch the stars, another access has been closed off. They're even blocking off access all around the town centre with raising and lowering bollards. These people like Ben Stephen Marsden, he's building fences around his house. Why? Because he's really upsetting people who are getting everything around them rubbish and destroyed by his building. But yeah, he's claiming to provide something for someone else. He's giving someone else something good, but he's not. Because why didn't the building people do that in the first place? Because they wanted themselves to make a profit for themselves. And there's still bad designs. They're blocking. If you're in a village and you've got evenly spread cottages and houses, right, all with reasonable amount of land, right, you never go to those places and say, "Oh, I can't see anything, view's blocked off." Now these housing estates of, 12, 20 houses that he's building, oh yeah, it's a bigger house, it's got a bigger garden, it's all nice and neat and all that, get an award, give the man a medal. It's not. He's blocking off, he's still blocking stuff off. He's doing that, he's making that much money killing out of it that he's got 5 businesses all evading tax. Who are these men? And when you go to their house, he don't live here. He don't live at this property. But then, neighbours say, "Oh yeah, he does live there." I'm on the side of people who have actually been given a bad deal and not as good houses. I would never do that to someone. Yet why is it that, people like me who are wanting to get the area nice and respectable, wanting to help other people, when we're not rubbishing them at all? I'm not a conservative Tory who's wanting to con anyone or rip them off. It's very difficult when you're trying to help everyone out and you've got sincere interest for all people, because neither of those two sides seem to want to help or do anything about it. That's the problem, you know. And now even Meltham, which relatively gone relatively moderate with the building. It's not had too much excessive building, but people there are getting upset now. But they're saying, oh, we've got to provide so many houses for the council. We've got to. You don't. When your electorate is 5 times bigger than somewhere, you got 5 times as many builders, 5 times as less land, there has to be some sort of act or clause where that area has taken too many building jobs on for the last 50 years. And it needs to stop. And they need to find somewhere. There are places where people aren't going to protest and aren't going to complain. There are countryside areas that can start getting nice, beautiful houses. You know, I mean, it's ridiculous. You don't seem to be able to please Extinction Rebellion either. I mean, I don't really know what Extinction Rebellion want. I think Extinction Rebellion seem to want the whole country to be London, but in contradiction, they're saying they want to rewild and have environmental conservation and things like that. But then they're complaining that, you know, we need to bring more people into the country, etc. And then they're complaining about discrimination. But no one seems to be wanting to work together to come to a satisfactory solution, I don't think. But this is the scout camp, and it's ironic now that, you know, Uffingtom camp's got a camp near it. This could have easily been, it's not far down there, it's not far to where Morrison's is. It would have made a brilliant scout encampment area where other people could have gone, all people could have gone, not just the scouts, you know. And I think it's relevant to that Cromwell, the name they've put on the Cromwell site at Brighouse, all that nature reserve there. It actually means something, and, you know, there's evidence that our heritage has been rubbished, you know. And to be honest, there were only 2 or 3, like I've said in other videos, there was 1 grandparent, 2 grandparents, you know. There's only 2 people, past and present, and then it was backfields again. So if everyone's saying, oh, you know, my family heritage, or, you know, this or that, it's only these modern enterprises and these modern business people who are ruining it, really, you know. And then you've got people on YouTube making videos, you know, driving through McDonald's, reviewing the products for them. They're not getting paid any money. They're getting everyone to go through their protocol, just like they want everyone to sit on the bus, let the driver take you where you're going. You know, you've got your Labour ticket, and let the Labour Party take you where you're going. And where they're taking is to not from a 15% electorate. They want it to be you know, 30,000, 5%, and we've got even more builders and then even less land, and then we're gonna be going over and joining up with Manchester, and then it really will be Manchester United. Is the football, does Huddersfield Town just not want to be Huddersfield Town anymore? I think Huddersfield Town wants to be the dream team of Manchester and be Man United and unite. I think that the powers that be want to build on the Pennines. I think they don't want the Pennines to be there. They want to write the Pennines off. They're really annoyed with the fact that the Pennines exist there, and I think they want to build over the Pennines, just like they've built on that Warriors Mound. And I think Manchester United wants to be join with Huddersfield Town and become one. Then we're the dream team. We've got all the star players, and then they're number 1 because, you know, they're fighting for, you know, their team, and their team seems to be wanting to knock the score up. The score wants to be more, you know, a massive score. That's ultimately, I think, where they're taking is what they want to do. And, you know, while everyone is gorging themselves on these Coke products, Coca-Cola and McDonald's and all this, which it's What I mean, all the people who like the Pennine Way and walk the Pennine Way, aren't they bothered? Don't they care? All these people who love the Pennines and the Pennine Ridge and the Pennine Walks, do they want to join Manchester and West Yorkshire together and then just have an urban Pennines, so then you can just walk on the pavement between the Pennines? That's ultimately what's going to happen, you know. And, you know, maybe that's what they want to do. Maybe they're on the side of the bus company and the football team. They just want to knock the score up. There are games, or there are things you can do which is not all about a number. It's not about a number, getting more numbers than the other team. It's about style and, you know, pleasure in something that's not necessarily having more. What is more, you know? It's, you know, even in gymnastics, I guess they're trying to get a better score, but when they're doing the moves themselves, it's for more shape and form and style in the gymnastics. And it's only on paper when it gets translated into a number. But when they're doing the performance in gymnastics, it's about the style and form. This should be about the style and form. But I guess it comes down to bad style and bad taste, you know. And then we get back to that whole thing with, we might have some racial differences between people with colours and stuff like that, you know. Is that why the Cochrane stones got vandalised, you know? Because is it kind of self-harm in a way? You know, and that's really, I think, what the builders. In fact, they covered that in the latest series 13 of Doctor Who, and we know Jodie Whittaker's from this area. When he's doing that, when they're in Liverpool, and he's like building, and he's like saying, "Do you actually think about what you're building? You know, why don't you think about that in the first place?" The problem is there are powers that be that are actually heavily influencing and controlling people, the football teams, and the builders, and you know, I've got a power tool, and my hard at, you know, and they're playing for the team, but yet they're doing a lot of damage to things, and it's not necessarily the best idea. And as long as they get paid for the job, they're not really that bothered too much, you know. And they will swear that they're doing people a favour. You know, I'm doing someone a favour, you know. Look, all these beautiful bluebells. This could be all around where Dalton is, you know, but not just, you know, all this and nowhere for anyone to live. There's something in Ireland. I thought Ireland knew better. I thought the Irish really knew better, and I thought that Ireland was keeping relatively green and environmentally friendly. But now we found out they're banging these massive tower blocks up, which are like Arndale centres. They're stacking them up. They're grotesque, like block of buildings, and they don't even need planning permission for them. You can't even have an opinion on it, and I didn't even know. They're putting them right next to heritage sites now, and the Irish are meant to really care about heritage sites, but it seems like they're not really doing that now. So it's ridiculous. But this, I just wanted to. I usually do end up, you know, saying a bit, going kind of like around the context quite a lot. But I only wanted to do the video about this place, but I've shown you around it anyway. It's the fact that it's here on Beaumont's land. To sum it up, right, this is on what Beaumont had as land, and he was liberal because he's got a liberal sign up on there. They tried to bomb it in the war with like a stray bomb, right? They didn't have this actually protecting the hill fort. Instead, they blitzed that with the cinema and tram station. And now the only two relatives that anyone can remember because they work there, everyone's pride of it is, so they won't want to try and restore it because they think that that's their heritage, although the great-great-great-great-granddad and the great-great-great-great-great-great-granddad and the great-great-granddad who was either even in existence on this planet surely wasn't on. The whole point of being on this planet wasn't for a tram station and a cinema, surely. You know, there's more to as existence and how we've got here to remember, and they don't want us to remember that for this area. They want to take away the visual access and just fill this in. Really, it's like pouring cement into West Yorkshire. They just want to pour cement into West Yorkshire and cement into Manchester and join them together. Now, if all the people in this country who enjoy walking ridgeways, who enjoy any part of the countryside in this country whatsoever, surely you would support or want to help people who are trying to protect the heritage and countryside, but also at the same time provide houses for people that are nice and that they like and that have got beautiful areas in and around them, and not fleece them for doing it. Not only do it, you know, to make a profit, but not pretend that you're doing it not really for a profit. You're just doing it because you want to help them out, when in fact, you know, you're not helping them out when you're doing tax dodging, when they've got, like, you know, 10 different tax registered companies because they're wanting to avoid tax. They're doing it so they don't get charged by the government enough. So that means they're not wanting to contribute to the roads looking after as much. They're not going to be wanting to contribute to street cleaning as much. They're not going to be contributing to, you know, recycling and all other things on the council. They won't be contributing to their own house with their own security gate, with their own security pad, with you know, because of all the people that have built houses next to it and ruined the nature next to them, and they're not happy, so they need to, and they're even lying to you. That's what the Tories are building and creating, and that's why Boris Johnson is a liar and why he should be removed. You know, and the answer to it is, and the other answer is, oh, what about all the people that are bringing into the country and immigration? Why are there wars in those countries? Why are those countries not going on? Because they're even worse than what we are, to an extent where they've got those problems anyway. So we should be trying to sort out those problems that they've got and help them figure it out. But we're not really helping them and figuring it out. We're bringing ourselves more problems in. It's not that we don't care about them. It's not that we don't like them whatsoever. It's the fact that if you are injured or, you know, you need to get in a situation where you're fit and able to help other people without arguing in your own head amongst your own issues, then you want to get into a good place and position so then you can effectively go out into the world and help other people, which is what we need to be doing. And the Tories don't want to do that. They want to, it's selfish. You think that it's selfish by saying, you know, we don't want to help people out in other countries, but that's not true, because we're not saying have more and more here, you know. If we were going in moderation for this country, surely we wouldn't need all those charities and everything. People would be helping those other countries and being productive towards them. These are the places. The problem seems to be it's inherently that they've got issues there. They've inherently got issues there. We've inherently got issues with the cock crowing stone. You know, it might as well be in the middle of Iran or Iraq, that cock crowing stone. You know, it's not helping the heritage here. It's not wanting people to come here. It's almost like some sort of kind of backlash insult or whatever, you know. Maybe you might think that that's what the heritage sites are, but I don't think so. Because I think that those people were the people of this country, the ancestors of this country. It's being lied about us. We did get along with each other. We were understanding. They were celebrating horses, you know, thanking God for a horse and making a symbol of it up to the sky. That's something beautiful and to be proud of. It's a thank you. It's not, you know, arguing between tribes and saying, oh, we're better than you or whatever. If you're sending something out to a tribe to help them, you know, providing resources from somewhere, you're doing it to aid, to help them. You're not rubbishing them. So why would you resent that, you know? And that, on the Ridgeway groups, sometimes I kind of think that there might be this kind of underlying resent if you try to prove that your ancient site's better than their ancient site. At the end of the day, they're from the same era, from the same period, from the same peoples. It is the same camp, really, you know? And really, we should be together, unified, allied, to protect yourselves against this wave of uncontrollable urbanisation that is taking over everywhere. Absolutely uncontrolled Tory and Labour growth and explosion of, you know, technology and industry everywhere, which is... They're looking at the bank account and going, how much money can I make? How much money can I save? Or like, how many companies can I have to dodge my tax? But look at the population figures for our area. We're going through the roof. They're going through the roof. And we're not going to have anything left when we've got Manchester population. And then how easy is it going to be to even get petitions to even oppose the council when you've got to get more and more and more signatures, and Mark Zuckerberg's wanting you to send less and less messenger messages, and Nick Clegg's wanting you to send less and less messenger messages so you can't actually come together to help each other. It's kind of ridiculous. We need... That lockdown period wasn't altogether ridiculous. We need some sort of calming period where we can get communicated and where we're not being obstructed by, oh, you can't say this, you can't say that, blocks and bans and rights arguments. We need a period of where there is very, very clear open communication about opinions and what we should be doing and solutions for it, and where it's not Boris who's steaming ahead while all the highways men and the builders are ploughing, carrying on, full steam. It's them who need to be put on pause. The construction sector needs to be put on pause, and we need to have very open communication, no limited messages. And we need to try and come to some proper, mature conclusions over it with free and open speech. While currently we're not watching everything get destroyed in the process, it can wait. There's no rush. The police are always going, oh, there's no rush. Don't rush around. Why are you speeding? What's the rush? What's the rush? Why aren't they saying that to the builders? Why aren't they saying that to, the Highways England? Why aren't they saying that to the construction workers? There needs to be some period of clarification, and not just in the form of lockdown. And I don't think they want to open that communication up because they will lose the political influence. And that whole thing what I've suggested is about getting people to have a political opinion and a say in it and talk about it and think and all agree on where to go and what to do, not while we're sat there watching them plough it to pieces and blitz it with building. We need to put them on hold, and that's what Boris refused to do. He didn't want to, because when he opens up those messenger floodgates, what Nick Clegg's got his butt finger over, he doesn't want us to have that say and opinion. Only what this party is proposing. Buy the Labour ticket and let Labour drive you, to where you're going. Next stop. Don't worry about all this built-up area that you're driving through. You're going to somewhere far better than that, and even more built-up area. The unity of Greater Manchester and Huddersfield Town is going to be the Pennine, urban sprawl or whatever it is, and then we really will be the dream team, the dream of, Cybertron and an ultimate. They might like that. Football team might want to play football for the dream team on Cybertron, but then why not go with Jeff Bezos on his moon rocket and build Cybertron on the moon with, and then you can have Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates having a party on the moon, and building Cybertron on there. And then, this is where we need the oxygen and the leaves and the trees and everything. And stop destroying the place, Then there would be, reason and purpose. But at the moment, in order to, get Jeff Bezos into space, he thinks that he's got to carry on with all this mass construction and highways work, basically. But that is one hell of a conversation, one massive conversation. So I wanted just to point out this camp here, this scout camp, which really should have been at Dalton. Dalton should have been the scout camp, and it could still have had nice houses for the people at Dalton. And these areas here, it just seems ridiculous that you would blitz the heritage sites when the natural areas could be incorporated into the heritage sites, but they've not. And it just seems to me that when you look at the maps and look at the evidence, it seems to me that, it seems to be that it's our area that has suffered because of it. I think it's because we were parliamentarian and a roundhead side, and I think we've been punished for it. I think we have been punished for it, for taking sides with Cromwell, and instead of protecting his heritage, they didn't want it celebrated for that reason. It was rubbished, and they made some other areas to try and forget that heritage, you know. Maybe you think that I'm trying to make you forget your, you know, tram driving ancestors when there was only one of them, you know, one tram driving ancestor and one, you know, cinema worker watching their films that they're banging out, by the way, the films that they're wanting everyone to start watching and influence them in those cinemas, which is probably how they ended up being able to expand and do what they're doing when they built that tram station out to Dalton, out to, you know, out to that mound, and then the cinema, get them, you know, wanting to go out there. Oh, there's something good here, there's a mound, and then, oh, but we'll watch the cinema instead, with it obstructing the view of that. Get it out of the memory, and then we'll slowly block off all these advantage points where you can see visual access, shut down the Freemasons' arms, private land on all the exact positions where you can even see that Warriors Tomb anymore. You know, everything's shut down to erase it from memory. It's like, you know, the history that we should be remembering is being erased. You know, it's a shame that apparently Celtic people didn't write everything down, and the Romans, I don't think, told the truth about things. But so this conversation has gone on quite long, but it's relevant to like Uffington and Uffington Camp. Now they're even wanting to build on there. This camp should have really been incorporated into the heritage that we've got near there. You know. And then you've even got like religious site. I'm looking at that United Nations religious site protection now, because you can't even fly planes over religious sites. So it's sort of ridiculous in a way. But there are other people that agree with me. In fact, to be honest, most of the people in that Ridgeway and Trackway group you would have thought, but they seem kind of wrapped up in their own area, or I don't know. It's kind of like people seem to be in their own little bubble. No matter what they might like the same things as you, but I don't know, we don't seem to be able to kind of get united to the National Trust and you know, Historic England and Natural England are meant to be acting for us in projects like this, but they seem, because it's all funded by, you know, it's mainly royalist charities and royalist affiliated funds that are behind all those environment movements. Therefore they're not going to favour our heritage here, which is what the problem is. So all the solutions to the problems, all the charities that are taking loads of money, even the petition sites like 38 Degrees won't promote your petition. They're picking and choosing what petitions they promote. It's sort of ridiculous, really. All you need is, you know, if a number of people to come together, and some people are helping, but it's, you know, there's some there were quite a lot of issues that could easily be sorted out, but I don't think that the people in charge with all the corporate sector business that don't want it to be solved, because the solution is that they have to relinquish some of the influence, which they don't want to do. I just noticed at this scout camp here, there's all these tree branches that they've cut off, piled up. What are they going to be doing with it? Are they going to be drying it out and using it to burn, or what? Or really, wouldn't, if you're in a wood like this, you wouldn't want it kind of look barren and just trees without any foliage. Wouldn't you want it to be kind of like quite dense and virile growth if you're in a scout camp? Why have they, do they really need to cut all these branches off the trees? That's the question, because we've got all these beautiful bluebells over here. There's all this, I've just filmed it earlier, but there's all these beautiful, all the bluebell woods there. Really, really beautiful. And there's this turning circle here. There's where the Cub Scout building is, but it's got really high hills up all around the edge. When I was talking earlier, it was echoing. It's really rubbish for scouting when you can't really see anywhere because your view's blocked off everywhere. That's what we're saying. Like, really, this Cub Scout camp should have been enclosed within the heritage area site of that Warriors Tomb mound at Dalton. Like Uffington Camp's got an actual campsite near it, but yet they built on it and it's all urban, where this is still relatively rustic and rural. Do they really need to trim all those trees back? I thought if you're going to, the whole point of rewilding and having wild places is letting it kind of grow wild, even if it's a Cub Scout camp. I mean, what, are they going to be making bivouacs out of these, or what? Is this what they used to build the bivouacs with? If, oh, we can't find any bits of twigs around, if they built bivouacs, and then there's no materials left, Is this what they've used? Why have they? Does anyone know why they do this? Another thing that's ironic is when they built that tram station out to Dalton and Waterloo and banged that cinema there, which totally blocked the view off of the Mound, rather than people going there and making films about it, rather than people going there and doing photographs and film of that heritage site to the world, the opposite happens. Build a tram station out there, get a cinema, and then we start watching film and cinema from all around the world, and that place gets built up and ruined, and all visual access blocked off and removed. That's the effects of film, and that's America, you know. It's almost could be like Mickey Mouse did it, you know, on Fantasia. But on Fantasia, he's cleaning up the mess on Fantasia, right? But I think that it was Mickey Mouse making a mess. And you know, now George Lucas has sold Star Wars. I don't really like what I don't like Warner Brothers or Disney, because they're just still carrying on banging toys out, pollution, and they've got this philosophy of the American more, which is like Nancy Pelosi. I think they're always trying to beat someone else or trying to do better than someone else, but to the detriment of everyone else. There's something going on with this footpath, because when you go down there's a public footpath sign what looks like it should be able to link onto this, but then it's private land's blocking it off, but it points that way. Now this one goes sort of that way, and then there's this kind of little actual proper style there, as if this is a nice little footpath with this old black metal gate. It's got the old stonework on there, and there's actually a stile over there, but I'm not too sure where it actually goes. There's some discrepancy to do with that land back there, where I think you could actually get through to it from back there.